Welcome back to Word Blindness, Dyslexia Exposed. I am here with my co-host, Brent Sopel. Good morning.
Wow. We got a good morning, really.
Yeah, well,
newly married. George over here. Something happened this morning?
No, but newly married, and we are 110 episodes. And we are recording at the end of October. This is going to be going out, obviously, in November, but
it just proves the justice system is terrible. I filed a restraining on you how many years ago, and we're still doing it? I'm just kidding.
And that was actually one of those clips that we did for the 100th episode. People were dying laughing at that because I was like, I never even thought about how that, right, I totally seemed like a stalker. But 110 episodes in, and the stalking worked. Because we get messages almost every day from people just... Thank you. I didn't think about it. Thank you. This and that. And I was talking to someone about podcasting in general. And our goal is, there's a lot of times we repeat the same things, and we do that on purpose. And it's because sometimes you need to hear things 8, 9 times before it gets into your head. And so we talk about our stories. This podcast is really meant, yes, some people listen from 1 to 110 because they find us entertaining and they learn something every time. But really, it's also for people, if they're going through something or they stumble upon it, they realize they're not alone. They can take digestible information and actually take it to the school, take it to an IP meeting, take it to a 504 meeting. But then they also know, hey, these guys can really help because they're not just butterflies and bullshit, even though I like butterflies and unicorns and bullshit.
And I like bullshit.
Right, exactly.
It's obviously, we got married this weekend. We had a little event with the Stanley Cup. The old people always talk, you hear me, cliches. Well, they're cliches for a reason. And so many people that I spoke to, over the weekend. Again, it's the same. It's the same lines, it's the same answers. It's the same. I didn't know that. I had no idea.
Right.
Really? Wow. Why? It's like the old tapes that, the DVD skipping when you got to put toothpaste on it. Oh, really? Because that's, we talk from experience. That's it. It's very different than anything else. Now you take a look at the world right now. It's good against evil, and many kids are in that chair, as we always talk about, that kid in the chair. It's forgotten about. Like right now, the world, politically, all that garbage. So much bullshit's going on. The kid in the chair has never been more forgotten about than right now.
Mm-hmm.
The Republicans are saying this, and Democrats and the teachers union are saying this. Hey, I don't hear you uttering anything about the kid in the chair.
Exactly.
Nobody. They're taking the money from the Department of Ed, and the special education is, granted, they haven't done fuck all anyways before, but where's the kid in the chair? Nobody. Nobody's listening to them. Nobody's taking a second for them. And that's, literally what we focus on. Can't get to two, which means you can't get to the second kid till you get the first kid.
Yep. And I'm back in a 504, right? It's my third IEP 504.
Oh, let's do a little update. I don't think listeners know that. So now you are,
and I asked
3.
And I asked my daughter if it was okay if I spoke about this. And she spoke at your event. I think we talked about that.
She did a great job. Yep.
She was thrown, and not thrown under the bus. No, because that's not what it was. You were like, hey, do you want to come and experience? And she was like, yeah. And it was 2 weeks that, I think maybe even just a week, that she learned.
And how I am in those events is I make sure everybody feels okay. Mm-hmm. Welcome, loved, supported, right? So for her to get up there, she felt that.
But you also knew that she would kind of rise to the occasion. You're very good at reading people, and you know the kids that you wouldn't call up, right? You know kids that you'd be like, I'm not going to. You're like, maybe she will, maybe she won't, but she's not gonna.
Right.
But yeah,
It's no life or death. Maybe she will if she's comfortable. And that was the thing. If she was comfortable, she'd get up. If she wasn't, she wasn't. Paige
Yep.
wasn't. No problem.
Exactly.
You're not getting up here. You got to do. No, it's if you wanted to, you felt good to rise above the occasion and say whatever you wanted to say. Great. If you weren't, great too.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It wasn't a forced pressure situation, and
At all.
She
No, it was
got up
beautiful.
and did it. But she's, your daughter's lived it. Watching Montgomery, right? Watching you, watching Grandpa. So I think she's, even though it was fresh from her diagnosis, it was old news almost, because it's been going on for so many years, her whole life. She's 16, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's had it for, I shouldn't say, she's been amongst it and listening about it for 16 years. It's not fresh 16 days.
Right. And this is we're going to go into a twofold conversation here, because one of the things that's really interesting is that, and I shared this at some point in the podcast, but when she was in pre-K and she was just turning 5, she came into the car, and I remember she was really upset. So she's a September birthday, and in Connecticut, the cutoffs are different. So she's 16 as a sophomore. And so I think it was the pre-K. So she had just turned 5, and it was probably October. And she came in, I could see something was wrong. I said, hey, did you have a bad day? And she said, I don't want to talk about it. And I was like, oh, in my heart, oh my God, what happened? Right? You as a parent, you're like, okay, I can't pry. And I was like, okay, even in my head is and then later on that day, or later as we were driving, she just said, Mommy, and then she started bursting out crying. And she's like, I think I have what Montgomery has. I can't read. And I was like, oh my God, honey. And she had just turned 5. So she was it was weeks.
Oh, come on. Why is she reading?
Right.
Come on. What do you do with your kids?
We definitely had this conversation, because I think you had said that. But she basically, there was a kid in her class that was reading, and this is when Montgomery was getting diagnosed.
Yeah, what was his name? And you called him a loser, didn't you?
No, I'm not going to say his name, but I go, you stay away from him. He's a weirdo. He shouldn't be reading.
Weirdo. That was it.
He was reading chapter books, but he is a genius. He's a genius. He was reading, and I shouldn't say chapter books, but he was reading at a 3rd grade level at a 5-year-old. Brilliant family. But I did say, I was like, you stay away from him. There's something wrong with him. No one should be fucking reading at about 5 years old. And he might have even been just 4. He was a gifted kid. Okay. We'll just leave it at that. But we had just diagnosed Montgomery, or we were in the process, and I could I'm not going to do the math right now, because that would be very painful.
We'll be here all day.
Yeah, totally. It would not be fun. But it was right around early, or maybe within that year. And she was scared, right? Because she saw the struggles that we just went through. And I was like, oh, honey, no. You should not be reading. Well,
and that just screams and tells you how early we have feelings.
Oh yeah.
How early we have trauma. How early this goes back to, right? How early we know we're different. You said pre-K, right?
Yeah.
Pre-K.
She was little.
Barely out of diapers. Barely target practice with, peeing with the little Cheerios in there for target practice. Barely out of that, right?
Yeah.
And she knows that, she's already afraid to be something, right? She's smart enough to see Montgomery struggling, and she doesn't want that, right? Mm-mm. And she's already has fear at, in pre-K. That's how early, we know. And people always talk about how early can you get tested, and, try living knowing that there's something wrong with you, or you're different. I shouldn't say something wrong. It's definitely not that. Yeah. You're different, right? There's something different. And why can't I do this? We've talked about this. My mental health, it probably one of the worst things, one of the worst in the world. My anxiety, and I never knew how bad it was. So, to recently, or has it gotten worse? Yes. Has it gotten more understanding? Yes. but wondering, why can't I do this? Like, why can't I do that? Why can they do that? Why can't I have friends? Why can't, like, that adds up on a kid. And, that'll lead us into, rest in peace, Patrick. It's McDonald's Mike. We got a funeral tomorrow. Patrick passed away, dyslexic, known him since he's in grade 4. My son and him were best friends. And he was dyslexic, and he never could fit in. Only time he could fit in when he played lacrosse. And he learned about lacrosse from my son. And he couldn't fit in. 28 years old, jumps off a cliff. Dyslexic because never can fit. Why can't, that's a prime example. I was going to, wasn't going to talk about it, but led perfectly into, he could never connect, can never fit in, can never this, right? What's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with me. It's the understanding of finding your people, finding people who understand you. But you can't find people to understand you if you don't understand yourself.
Yeah, sending prayers to that family. And thank you for, I know you weren't going to talk about it, but it obviously felt right and that you wanted, to do that because you have seen all of those sides. And there's, as we talk about the spectrums and not autistic, but meaning like the scale and the different things, it is, and going back, like now I even think, I'm like, I wonder if she was struggling. I mean, she went and then taught herself. We got her tested and she's like 2 levels from like the brightest people. I mean, she gets a 98. She is so smart, but this is what I think is really important that people don't understand, right? We talk about the severity and the struggles, right? Of so many of what, like, we knew we struggled in school because it was really hard in so many different ways. My other 2 figured out very quickly on how to adjust and how to get by. But then when they hit the AP classes, and we did talk about this in the last couple, but when they got into the harder classes, I realized that they were working harder than they should. And then she went driving and went left instead of right. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? And then like algebra 2 is something that really gives her a hard time. And it's frustrating to watch. And I know for her, and that is where when she got diagnosed with mild dyscalculia and dysgraphia, like her numbers were all like high average, high average, high average. And then boom, low. And it was like, and she had 2 lows. That's it. Everything else was high average, high average, high average. And that's where like people will say, well, oh, she gets good grades, so why should she get accommodations? Now, I've been through the whole thing. I've gone where I've had a kid that needed, like if he didn't have the accommodations, like he's so severe, and school, the way that school taught, he couldn't, like it just didn't fit. Like he's really smart, but it didn't fit. That's how I was. It didn't fit, right? My other son, he figured out how to do, maybe has stronger, he gets solid grades. He's a good student, but there's some like math and science he has to work harder on. And like, we don't take some of the high those. I'm like, just do regular. Like, why are you doing that?
He likes history. That's bullshit.
He does like history. He's very good at history, like freakishly good. And then Penelope, who English and all of that, she's so good at, but we've always said, like, you're the really smart one in our family. You're so good at math, so good in science. And she finally said, I'm not, guys, like, stop saying that. And I was like, well, I'm not. And then that's the other thing where she was like, I had to be like this because I was the student. You guys were the athletes.
You made me.
Right. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it's thinking about all of our kids and all of things. And you talk about this so beautifully with the family that, the one kid with the puzzles, like don't play games together. I feel like they were on a lake.
Yeah. It was, the 2 brothers were playing card games together. Yeah. And the one was making fun of the other because, the sex one couldn't do it. And, that family, sibling banter is one thing, but when you struggle like that, he couldn't do it. And when I spoke to the mom's was like, he was just devastated. I'm like, yeah, because that's, I want, first off, it's a sibling battle, right? You want to beat your sibling no matter where you are, how old you are, whatever it is. And I can't. All right, that sucks. But then I can't even understand it. Yeah. What's he talking about? What's wrong with me? Like, that shit adds up in a negative way very, very quickly. And it's kind of like weight, being fat. I'm fat now. It's easier to put on 10 pounds. Very easy to put it down.
Yeah, then take
and then take it off. So the negative, connotation is what I'm saying is the negative impact of dyslexia is like putting on 10 pounds. Oh, just say you're smart, just do this. Well, look how long it took to 10 pounds off. How did I take, so, correlating it to that, it's not that easy.
Right. It's not. And it is. And that's where like the way we're talking and the why we talk about stories and why we talk about everything is so someone can take something away and be like, you know what, I need to implement this in or, oh, wait, my kid isn't like, she's the really good one or he's the really good student, but he's struggling. And it's at that cost that you talk about all the time. And now she said to me, and she hasn't completely practiced and she's not like I'm like a talker. She's definitely more introspective and doesn't need to like talk all the time. She said she's like, I don't know. I don't really know. I really thought about it, but it's, I forget the word she said. And I was like, okay, I get it. Like she basically, I think was like, it feels okay that I'm not good. I didn't know why those two things were harder because all of her friends are like the same. They're not, she has a 98 average. They are 101. So she's like, no, I'm not the smartest. And I'm like, oh my God, honey. Like, but she doesn't say it she's like, Mom, look, this is not it. And I've always, with self-esteem and stuff, I always like build my kids up and really know them really well. So I know how to talk to them. And I feel like I've done a pretty good job with it, but you never know. And you never know, like when they have friends and when she's saying to me, like, I don't think I'm the smart one. I'm like, oh my God, wait, are you going to be that kid that's like, no, I'm not smart because you're not getting 105. But she was like, this is okay. And she's got like 13 really good friends, like, but two best friends that.
How many?
There's like a group of them that are 13, but there's like two besties in it. And her two besties though are like they're, when I say like straight A's and they work at it, but they don't work as hard. And she studies with them. And that has to be hard. Like where I'm like, she's like, Mom, I'm not. And they'll help her with math because she's comfortable with it and knows, but she's like, they get it. Like, she's like, it's so crazy. They get it. I need to be taught a couple different ways. Then I get it. And I'm like, but the fact that that is so beautiful and that you don't give up, but like, I don't want you to make yourself crazy. Like that's my, I don't want her to become such a perfectionist overachiever, but listen, that her personality is very much like she does go above and beyond.
Well, that's, and that was put into her before pre-K.
Mm-hmm. Oh, she taught herself to read. It was the craziest thing. Like I remember being like, what are you doing? Just stop. And she had my mom on the phone and being like going through like, yeah. And I was like, oh, she's going to be an intense one. Okay. Yeah.
That's how early these things take place. And that's why we always talk about getting tested, right? And understanding what you have, that neuropsych, whatever that auto processing, autism, whatever, it's just like, whatever that is. Now you know.
Now you know.
Instead of, now I know in grade 1, 2, 3, instead of a junior or senior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big, 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 big difference.
It is. And the fact that I shared with you, I went back and forth with the 504 committee and they were like, no, you have to do this. And I was like, no, I don't. And it was 5 emails. I started getting pissed and then I was like, I'm going to take a break. But think about all the parents that don't want to be annoying and they don't want to push. And we've talked about this multiple times, but I'm going to say it again. If I didn't push, she would have gotten more inside testing. And I was like, she does not need that. You guys are not like, and I was very respectful. I was like, but please look, that's not the law for 504. I know things are changing, but if you look at her report, everything is in there. That's why we went out and we chose the doctor we did. Please just go back and look. Please go back and look. Please go back and look. Oh, great. Thank you. I'm so glad that someone went back and looked and realized I was correct. Okay. So now we can move forward.
Well, and your early statement, if parents don't want to be annoying, I don't know. They can't continue to push like you do because they don't have the understanding.
But that's why we do this.
And that's why we do this. This is my point, right?
Oh, sorry.
That's why we talk about it, right? Because to give them that knowledge, the knowledge to say, hey, this isn't right. Oh, I heard this Juliet talking about this. It's, you never push if you think it's right.
Absolutely. And what I texted you after my third email, and I was like, wait, am I right? Because then I questioned myself.
Right. And that's what the school system does. That's what this teacher union bullshit has done, is don't question me. I know. To each and every one of you, go fuck yourself. I know.
Yep.
I wake up with it in pain. I go to bed in pain. I fucking know. Don't tell me because your 2 master's degrees tells you this is how you're supposed to do it. Oh, this is how they do it in the book. Oh, really? When was the last time you read that book? Well, it was, it's funny. So Elizabeth got to doing continuing ed for her job. And I said to her, I'm like, every year you got to do all this bullshit. So, come down towards the end, she got to get a couple classes done by the end of the month. I said, is there anything new? Why do you have to do it every year? No, she's like, no, it's all the same. So you got to go and do all this, and you got to be present in a classroom for fucking 8 hours or 10 hours, non-distracted to do it.
It makes me so angry.
Teaching, education's the same way.
So many things are the same way. They just do it to check a box. Okay, you did it. You didn't learn anything, and it's not progressing anyone. Nope.
This is how we've been doing it for 25. Well, guess what? It hasn't fucking worked.
No. Let's shake the fucking shit up.
Right.
Yep. And that now brings me to sign language for states that, so if you're dyslexic in certain states, I thought back in the day it was for all states, but I learned that it wasn't, that certain states you can be exempt from a foreign language. And you don't have to take it in college, you don't have to take it in high school. However, if you have a child right now that you're in a certain state and they're not taking a foreign language and they're applying to college, look into the college to find out what they do, because we found out, I was like, no, you're not going to have to take it. Don't worry. Well, South Carolina state doesn't observe that, and you have to take a class. Now listen, I don't know what the alternatives, so just take this with a grain of salt, but some genius, go ahead.
Alternatives. Fuck you.
Right. Why does that? Right.
And I cannot do the first fucking language. I cannot do English. I cannot do the first language. But you want me to take a second language? Let me think about that. There you go. Education system. Fuck you all. Does that make sense?
No,
you
and that
fucking retards. You heard me.
But that came from Yale, right? And I'm not going to even get into that, but it came from an academic place that said you do not have to take foreign language. So then certain states, and I don't know where, I'm going to research it, but said, okay, what we're going to do, and I know even in high school, this is an alternative for some states, that you have to take sign language. Okay. And I remember first hearing it, I was like, all right, I'm not going to fight, because whatever. Now, my child that is severely dyslexic, I just saw this weekend, and my sister and I were literally peeing our pants, but it's not funny. I mean, he has a light heart about it because he is a lighthearted kid, but he goes, okay, so sign language, you have to spell, right? He goes, you have to spell letters out. Not only do you have to remember the hand signal, he goes, I am not deaf. I am dyslexic. So why in the fucking world would sign language be easier for me? Because it's an English language. As you said, I struggle with the English language. So why is someone say this is a good idea? So he said, Mom, I have to spell out words, but I have to remember what letters there are. I can't spell and I can't process it that way. He goes, I quite possibly going to fail this. And I was like, okay, have we talked to he's like, I've talked to people. It's not worth it. I'm doing my best. And, he had a smile, but I was like, thank God he has got a good head on his shoulders, because you get stomped on so many fucking times. He's like, I literally was called out in class. He's like, now I wasn't really paying attention because I was like, oh, don't worry. He's like, and then he also said to me, well, careful what you say on the podcast. You don't want to completely expose me. But he's like, I wasn't completely paying attention. And the teacher called me out and was like, Montgomery, can you tell us, and in a sentence, like where you are from and then something else. He's like, I had to think about how everything was spelled. And she's like, come on, do it faster. And I'm like, but does she know that you're dyslexic? And he's like, yes, mom, she does. And I was like, and he goes, oh, and the whole class is watching me. And he goes, it's just like, she's like, no, you're wrong. I'm like, that is mortifying. That's like standing up, having to read out loud. I am so sorry. You're going. Now, again, he's like, I don't give a fuck. It's not hurting my ego because I was like, oh my God, right? This is like me as the parent trying to protect. But I'm like, who the fuck? And why didn't I fight about it? Why didn't I think, oh, this is a bad idea? When they were kids, I did take music sign language. My kids did know how to sign about 10 different things. That's the other thing. And I'm going to let you interrupt. Montgomery
Tree
said,
hunger.
he goes, I know, I totally was. I was like, here's more, here's please. Like, I know, thank you. Like I had them signing all that, but those are things.
Right.
He goes, but that's all of a sudden, he goes, there's some words that just have one symbol. And then other words you have to spell out. How the fuck am I supposed to remember which ones have this and then which ones are that? You're learning it all together. And he's like, it is my hardest class by far. And I'm 100%, no, he said 98% going to fucking fail. And I was like, oh, sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. That was a rampage.
No, that would be English 101 on steroids. It'd be harder, right? Because you've got to, at least, if you're doing a paper, you can write it down, right? And, kind of look at it, work. Not, yeah. This is what's maddening. People want to stand up for the teachers union. People want to stand up for department ed, especially. Look at, we just proved a point. How does this make sense? It doesn't. No, zero.
No, and no dyslexic decided that this was going to be pushed through.
Right. IDA, you're doing a great job. Let's pretend we're doing a great job and then make this okay. Like, it is the most asinine thing I've ever heard of.
Mm-hmm.
And just to example of how all those people that think dyslexia, all these charities and things are doing a great job. Oh,
it
really shows. Mm-hmm. Yeah, really shows right there. Like, we can't do the first language, but you know what? You're going to take 4 more languages, and then you can't graduate to be fluent in 4 more languages.
And this is for liberal arts. So I will state this is for a liberal arts college. So I don't know all of colleges if you don't have to take that.
Well, it's not by colleges, it's by states.
Right.
So still, even,
Oh, so even if he was, if he was not a liberal college, I hear what you're saying. Right. Okay.
He still has to have that, and take that alternative. So that's one of their alternatives. So I'm sure there's other states or others, has that alternative. But the point is the fact that you still got to take a second one. You should be, if you get a neuropsych evaluation, if you're dyslexic, you have some of the, 5Ds, you should be exempt from a second language.
Unless you want to take it, right?
Unless you want, right? If you want to take it, French, English, whatever it is, you go ahead. There should be. I'm not saying you get those free credits. No.
Mm-mm.
Let's make some alternatives up, right? But they have to take, and not fucking sign language, and not fucking reading, and not writing. Like, let's think about this. What are some options? Mm-hmm. What can we do? I'm not, again, be clear, I'm not asking for the free credits for us.
Right.
We'll still do our work. We're not worried about our work. Well, let's call a spade a spade. Suck my dick sideways, because that is, if I did that to any of your kids, if I came in your kid's classroom in 5th grade and said this, they'd come home, every single one of those parents would come in fucking hot and swinging. But it's okay for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know you're as angry as I am because again, and thank God Montgomery is like, I said, honey, that has to sting. He's like, Mom, I promise you it doesn't, because I so don't care, because I'm
It may
so
not sting, but
over
he's
it.
not going to pass the credit. So then he's going to have to do it another time.
He's gonna have to do something else. So he's praying. He's like, I'm holding on. I'm holding on. And I was like, but he's like, I can't charm her. I've tried. Like, so that's the other thing is, which again, it breaks my heart, but it doesn't. Cause my sister was like, oh my God, that's really, and I was like, Meg, don't, I know hearing him right now and he is laughing and you think, I was like, he really is okay. The work and just the personality of him. But yes, could you imagine if it's someone that's not okay and how much that fucks them up and how much stress? Say a parent doesn't understand and their kid is in college taking sign language and then they fail. And here's the thing. So I also it's twofold too, because they were trying to make him take intro to Spanish or take Spanish 1 or whatever it was. And he's like, I didn't even take intro. Like I was exempt since 2nd grade. Like I've never even taken, like we're in elementary school, you have to take he's like, I've never done any of it so for me to take a college foreign language. And so I did have someone at the college fighting for it. And this was the only alternative they gave. So it was like, all right, we'll just, I guess, fight. Now, maybe we should have waited and fought and then dealt with it in his senior year. Like now I'm thinking I guess we should have done that because this wasn't completely thought through. And maybe some other dyslexics.
So do you have to take 1 semester or what is it?
Yeah, 1 semester, one class of a foreign language.
But can he graduate? If he doesn't have this, can he graduate?
I don't know. I got to figure that all out. So I'm just holding on. We're almost at the end. And he's like, oh, I mean, he's like, Mom, he said it's almost comical because he just he goes fast sometimes. And he's like, but I can't spell it. So yeah. So it is, I have 2 people or one person that I have to talk to, and you know who that is. And that I said to him, have you talked? And he's like, no, because there's no point. There's no point. I just need to get through it. And that's what I'm trying to do, trying to get through it. And I really did give it a try. Now, there are some people with dyslexia that foreign languages actually come easier to, which is fascinating.
It's how your brain is. Option. You should have the option.
Exactly. So there is that, right? So I do know that. So someone could come back, and apparently sign language is not the same. Whatever it is, the reasoning why they did sign language, and I'm not going to spew here, but when it was brought to me, I was like, okay, that makes sense. But I didn't think of all the details, even though Montgomery in the beginning did say this is a really bad idea. I don't think I'm going to be good. And I thought he was just being stubborn.
And the key word you just said there were the details.
Mm-hmm.
Those are what details or / nuances are what is missed. Cross them all, because they all who don't have dyslexia don't understand that portion of, and never will. Mm-hmm. And everybody, principals and teachers and superintendents and teacher unions, they don't have it. They'll never catch that. And those are the things that hurt more than being punched in the face.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather be punched in the face all day long than have people miss the nuances or the details of what I was saying or what I was trying to do.
Mm-hmm. And you brought up so many good points there, and I really want everyone to think about this because, again, it is a personal thing. When I talk about my older sister versus me when we were in school, it's a personality thing. And what's so key is the options part. Because yes, is this taking Montgomery down? No, but he is definitely going into this class every day being like, think about if you had to do this. You probably would after the second day have been like he keeps going back and is like, okay, I'm gonna give it another try. Like he is just that type of person where it's like, he lets things roll off his back because of who he is. And I'm just fortunate that that's the kid. But when I was even talking to my sister, she's like thinking about her kids. She's like, oh my God. She goes, even him talking about where they called him out and he had to spell, and the whole class was looking because he wasn't paying attention in the first place and didn't hear them calling because they were signing to him and he wasn't listening. He was looking down at something. He goes, I didn't know that they were even signing to me because I didn't know that they were spelling my name. I mean, the whole thing just sounds like and I give him credit for giving it his all to what he's doing. And I really pray that he squeaks by so we don't have to think about this. But it made me think and was like, we need to talk about this because this is not an alternative. This is a terrible alternative. And kids in high school, they're doing this to kids in high school.
Right. And I'm not going to throw an alternative because I haven't,
right.
I haven't dove in far enough. It wouldn't be right of me to throw an alternative until, I do more research, do all the right things. But not having a good alternative for a dyslexic is, again, kick me in the face. Why don't you? So don't tell me you're for us. Don't tell me for us. Don't tell me the special ed needs to be. Don't tell me. Right? Because where are you every other day? Oh, let's see. If you're reading at an 18% level, oh, sorry, you don't get any resources because you passed the 17% level. Oh, but it's okay for a non-dyslexic kid not to be reading at 18% level. That's not okay. So why is that okay?
There's so much wrong with it. And it makes me sad, but then it also fires me up. And this is why I'm so happy that we can do this and that it continues to grow. And the foundation, like because of you relentlessly being like, I'm not giving up and seeing, okay, where do we need to go? But also being so thoughtful and like, okay, we're not jumping on that. Or before I was even involved, like, I'm not jumping on that. I'm not jumping on that. Like, there's so much stuff that you did behind the scenes for the first number of years that really I applaud and commend you. And I know I've said this to you, but it was so important where if you did jump on these certain things, you would just be in the same flash of like people being like, oh, I'm going to do this. Like Montgomery said, he's like, Mom, I'm not going to complain because I don't want it to be like, there's so many things that people think, oh, it's fine because no one's complaining about it or this and that, because they're internalizing it, because it's like, he's not going to go and be like, I can't spell anything. Like he's not going to go to the teacher and like pour his heart out.
Hey, I'm an idiot. I'm dumb. I can't. Hey, look at me. Should I wear a nice little Red Riding Hood hat in? Like,
yes. And so like, I was like, oh my God. Okay. Yep. He's like, don't say anything, Mom. I'm figuring it out.
If you could go to somebody and we talk about all this, and, made by dyslexia, go fuck yourself too. I'm hot and heavy now. Meaning you want to go and talk to somebody about it who doesn't understand it. Right. And why I said that about me is like, oh, dyslexia is the best for the working environment. What I just said was he can't go to his teacher and talk about is dyslexia. He can't go to his guidance counselor or whatever and talk about it. So you're going to ask a person that's working, who's bringing money for their family, no matter if they're a woman or a man, doesn't matter, and going to go and be vulnerable to their boss who's got zero fucking clue about dyslexia and not worry about getting fired. Like, are you really? Oh, Reed Foundation, I'm going to go and teach all the teachers how to teach a dyslexic, but they don't teach them about a dyslexic. How does that work? So you wonder why I'm angry. You wonder why my mental health sucks. So you wonder why I get fucking pissed off. And we worry about the kid in the chair because literally no 1 ounce is.
I'm going to leave it at that. That was a brilliant outtake, and it's so true. And I have so much more to say, but I want to say it for another day because I want this to settle. But really think about this. Thank you for joining another episode of Word Blindness, Dyslexia Exposed. You know what to do. Like, rate, review, and share. And we'll see you next week.